Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, committee members. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight to you. I'm speaking to you from Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. As you mentioned, my name is Volker Gerdts. I'm the director of the Vaccine and Infectious Disease Organization, or also known as VIDO. VIDO is a research institute at the University of Saskatchewan here in Saskatoon, and one of Canada's largest research infrastructures focused on infectious disease research. We operate currently Canada's largest high containment laboratory, which is one of the world's largest and most advanced facilities. We have about 170 researchers at the moment from more than 28 different countries, more 50% female, and more 40% representing visible minorities. I think during the pandemic, and I had an opportunity to address another committee last year, during the pandemic, VIDO was in the news, and you might have heard about the work that was going on here. As one of the few organizations in Canada, we moved a lot of our research on the pandemic. We were the first in the country to isolate the virus, to develop an animal model, to have a vaccine and clinical testing, and now have worked with almost 100 companies over the last almost 2 years now, testing their technologies, their prototypes, their vaccines, and their therapeutics in our models here. And so VIDO has really become one of Canada's COVID-19 go-to places, if you want, for research, and has significantly contributed to our advances that eventually are leading us out of this pandemic. We have our own vaccine, which is a protein subunit vaccine. You may have seen the news today, Novavax technology is now approved in Canada, so VIDO and others are working on technologies like that. Our own vaccine is moving forward. We have two targets for us right now. One is to make this vaccine available to Canadians as a booster vaccine to already authorized vaccines, which, as we all assume, we'll probably need in the future to be able to continue to address COVID. But more importantly, we're also working with African countries, with Uganda and the Senegal, on making this technology available to low and middle income countries to make sure that those countries, those people around the world that currently don't have access to vaccines will have access to our vaccine, which is a technology that is ideal for the use in remote areas like Africa, remote Saskatchewan, or Canada's north for that matter. And so just as a side note here, CEPI, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness, the world's largest organization focused on emerging diseases, just recently invested $6 million into VIDO's platforms, with the goal of developing these platforms for new variants of concerns for COVID as they emerge. It's important to mention that over the last many years now, VIDO has received funding from the Canadian, from the federal government, from the provincial government, and also the municipal government. Most importantly, probably, is the funding for the high containment laboratory, the INTERVAC facility. INTERVAC is one of Canada's 10 major science infrastructures, and so currently we are funded through the MSI program provided through CFI. But it also includes funding for our in-house manufacturing facility, which is now almost complete. And it also includes funding for the vaccine. And then most recently in the budget 2021, VIDO received funding for what we call the Pandemic Center, for our vision to become Canada's Center for Pandemic Research. And that is really the vision for being one of the key research organizations in Canada to focus on these emerging diseases and be able to rapidly respond to any new disease, whether it's a human disease or an animal disease. And so part of that is our in-house manufacturing facility, which will enable us to rapidly develop clinical trial batches that then can go into clinical development. It also includes the construction of a new animal facility, which will enable us to house a wide range of exotic species, and also to upgrade part of our existing containment facility to the highest level, to containment level 4, to enable us to respond to any future threat in the future. And so this is supported by the federal government, but it's important to note that it's also supported by the provincial government, the city of Saskatoon, and many, many donors who have now provided millions of dollars in research support and support of moving forward with this vision to build Canada's Centre for Pandemic Research in the future. And so from my perspective, what can we learn from the pandemic and where do we want to go as a country in the future? I think it's great to see that Canada is currently developing the life science strategy and the biomanufacturing plan, the vision for rolling this out and making sure that Canada as a country in the future is able to domestically produce vaccine, not to depend on other countries, both for the research as well as for the manufacturing. And so it's great to see this vision coming forward.